Today, Rinpoche continued his commentary on Lama Tsongkhapa's Source of All My Good. He introduced a new commentary by Ngusir Dharmabadra that has a beautiful clarification of renunciation in it.
This is 39, right? Yeah,
Page 39.
Okay, thank you. I got it.
So we're looking at the Lamrim tradition, and the largest volume of work that Lama Tsongkhapa presented on the stages of the path is the great treatise on the stages of the path to enlightenment. The second biggest volume is the medium stages on the path to enlightenment, and then we have a smaller work called the abbreviated stages on the path to enlightenment, or the Lamrim Dudan. But then there's a much more summarized work, or a condensed work, that Lama Tsongkhapa wrote in this same tradition, and it's called The Source of All My Good, the Foundation of All Good Qualities. And that's the text that we're looking at tonight, that we're looking at now. That's it, Yanjir Suralam. The Tsongpa, the Yanjir Suralam.
Business, and insane operating, G operating, shouting Mamshigata, what the traditions of the United British, them all lots of about Gobachevit, the machine wrote there. Teaching the children of the things about
So the first stanza reads, "The source of all my good is my kind Lama, my Lord. Bless me first to see that taking myself to him in the proper way is the very root of the path, and grant me then to serve and follow him with all my strength and reverence." So here we have the expression of worship section. And we find that many Tibetans and many business in the Tibetan tradition, we find many people who make offerings of incense and so forth. And this is very similar to that. This is an expression of worship in a verbal way. And then we also have the reliance upon the spiritual friend, or reliance upon the teacher presented here. If we wish to learn any subject, if it's the subject of English or Hindi or science, any of the subjects we wish to learn, it's necessary for us to have a teacher. Likewise, if we want to learn the stages of the path for beings of small, medium, and great capacity, it is also necessary for us to have a teacher to teach us this information.
me le chungpa ina ote chibi chungu la nyala yabu yung kore, dingi la nyala yabu yung kore, chibi shimi la nyala yabu yung kore, chibi chungu la sana dendu la marbe. Te nyala chigi ina, an chewa shima mali chigire, lali chigire, an chewa shima nga su matan lali chaya gabu yorwa. Gabu yorwa, chibi chungu ka su matan lali chaya ge, wate jote songoro, ta chibi chungu la wate isare.
Decent.
Tene chibending goes ta also doing a bomb taba. Doing a bomb taba tuji land over the chibo ding land song was a marbe. Doing a bomb tabi land, chibending timeg land. Or the doing a bomb tak on the Suji lava, Tinga de lava, Shella lava something is that Mareva.
Let's go. Decent.
What the magic she job in a Mazoba Tambo, Bomba Tambo, Chuncha Abuja, Nancy Abuja Turo. Tenaji and a Numo but the Shiji Jeba and the Kui Zawan the Shad Honduras over to Jebala and what the Treatise Temba, Tinga Bomba Temba and the Latungi. Chuncha tempo to some Labasum Chansuna, and what the Sha controller soba, Kui talk at you to raise what something somewhere.
No Jid and Shiji Pong Gona, then the Garicars.
What the new did that she did that to go Pomala, what the Treatise Lava, the things that you love the Shera Lava, Treatise Lutan, but things the Bomba Temba, Shera Lava, Chuncha Tempa, the Yobaina, and then you move the Shidi car to Zero. What does one thing said?
So what do the practitioners aspire to of these various pathways? So we have practitioners of the small path, practitioners of the medium pathways, and practitioners of the great pathways. What do those practitioners do? So we find the first pathways for beings of small capacity presented here in the next stanza. It says, bless me first to realize that the excellent life of leisure I found just this once is ever so hard to find and ever so valuable. Grant me to wish and never stop to wish that I could take its essence night and day. So here we find the importance of the basis that we presently have and the necessity of having the 8 leisures and 10 endowments for a good practice in order to have a good practice. So that is what the point that's being made here is, and then we next get into the practices of a being of small capacity. And this is a being who wishes to have rebirth in the higher realms of cyclic existence, a being who aspires to the gods or human realms, because if one is born in the gods and human realms, this is something, being born in the gods or human realms is something that one would want to have. So therefore, this type of practitioner engages in these pathways that lead to the higher realms of cyclic existence, and those pathways are pathways for beings of small capacity. The next pathways are the pathways for beings of medium capacity, and these are pathways that lead to liberation, a liberation that is an abandonment of suffering. We say that the pathways for medium capacity are the lesser vehicle pathways or practices. And those practices are the 3 highest higher trainings. By engaging in these 3 highest higher trainings of ethics, concentration, and wisdom, one is able to achieve a state of liberation. So these 3 higher trainings are compared to the act of chopping down a tree and what would be needed. And in the case of the higher trainings, the goal is to achieve liberation. And in the case of the example, the goal is to, or the analogy rather, the goal is to cut down a tree. So if you wish to cut down a tree, it's necessary to have a stable body. But a stable body isn't enough. One must also have an arm in order to do the cutting. But just a stable in a body and an arm isn't enough. One also needs some sort of a saw in order to cut the tree down. So if one has these, a stable body, an arm, and a saw, then a tree can be cut down. Likewise, if one wishes to achieve the state of liberation, the higher training in ethics is compared to that arm. And the higher training in concentration is compared to, I'm sorry, let me reverse that. The higher training in ethics is compared to a stable body. The higher training in concentration is compared to the arm. And the higher training in wisdom is compared to the saw itself. So just like one needs all of those three in order to cut down a tree, one needs all three higher trainings in order to get rid of the afflictive obstructions, get rid of the obstructions to omniscience, get rid of the afflictions and attachments and so forth. And these are the pathways for beings of medium capacity, those pathways that lead to an individual liberation.
어제 다들 어때 나중에 비때 다른 가서 매일 내도 어디서게 자와치 버렸어. 오늘 도와지던 저 추주비 투제가 참 게제도 제 매일 된 다른 가서 도디오 알았어. 이제 노벨 합이 매일 된 정보든 가서 도디오 알았어. 뜻답이 르데데 안에 타바타바 네 가버렸어. 시도 네가 네 가버렸어. 은 돈다 쳐버렸어. 은 르덴 투바이나 은 르덴 티텐르데네 은 하도 물지야게 주주도 그래. 등에 보면 타비 주주도 그래. 산지고도 주투바 인상 돈 쳐버렸어. 신도 네가 돈신시 주네스.
그래서
신도 네가 가와 이든 가서 매일에 네가 가와 이데 네가 가이 부당 네가 가이 주세. 네 말배. 네버가 예쁘던 누이롱지 다네 든든당한도 신네 든든당한도 신네 내손 제겐데 사침이 뒤나 버렸어.
그래서
든든당한도 안에 내손다 마다 하도도 신네 내손 제겐데 사침이 뒤나지 시다고 몸버렸어. 안에 내손다 마다 하도도 신네 든들 제겐데 사침이 뒤나 뇨뇨뇨뇨레스 뇨뇨레스 사치비 뒤다 안에 늘 제가 샤츠즈비 뒤다 버렸어. 돌도 소마르바.
그래서
어때 아야디 와가 어때 네바가 주세도 소마르바.
Do you understand them?
네바가 주세도 아야디 땅다가 조마르바. 아. 가자.
나진선. 그게
담바마이 슈용지 테나 수주나 피치게 방안으로서 안 수주도 저가로 담바마이 미디바 먹어 주사가 제가 몸으로스 담바마이 슈 먹어 주사가 몸으로 대이 소자 사치미 뒤나지 때네 신행가 송전도 거레스 사치미 뒤도 담바마이 슈용지
맞아.
안에 그거 주사가 뉴뉴레스 뉴뉴에다 든든당한도 신네 든든을 제게데 뉴뉴 주센터레스 담바마이 슈는 테나 수주나 패싱가 방안으로서 아디오 땅다고 로마르베.
So when we look at this, bless me first to realize the excellent life of leisure I found just this once is ever so hard to find and ever so valuable. So we have at this moment a human basis, and this human basis is very important because with it we can practice the Dharma. With this human basis we can practice the Dharma, we can practice religion, we can engage in the pathways that lead to the higher realms. We can engage in the pathways that lead to an abandonment of suffering, a liberation that is an abandonment of suffering. We can engage in the pathways that lead to complete Buddhahood. So independence upon this human basis we have, we can achieve all of those results. So that is why we say it is very valuable, that it has great meaning. And we have it now, but that doesn't mean that we'll be able to achieve it very easily again in the future. So this is why it says that I found just this once. And the ever so hard to find part means that it's very difficult to achieve a human basis. Why is it difficult to achieve a human basis? And then we find two points that are made. It's difficult to achieve because of the examples that are given, and then it's difficult to achieve because of the reasons that are given. So when we look at the difficulty of achieving it by way of example, in the sutra, in the Buddhist Sutra, we find a statement that says those beings that go from the higher and lower realms back to the lower realms are similar to the atoms that fit in the world. But those beings that go from the higher or lower realms to the higher realms are in number like those atoms that could fit on a fingernail. So we see this example shows the difficulty of achieving a higher realm rebirth because of the fact that most beings after are born in the lower realms and not in the higher realms. And then we find also the reasons that are given. And then the reason that is given we find in Aryadeva's 400 verses, where it states that beings for the most part are involved in the ignoble. That's why most ordinary beings fall to the lower realms of cyclic existence. What this means is that ordinary beings, for the most part, engage in non-virtuous activities. They engage in the 10 non-virtuous activities and accumulate a large amount of those types of karmas, those types of karma. Therefore, they fall to the lower realms of cyclic existence, as most beings are involved in the ignoble. Therefore, most ordinary beings fall to the lower realms. And then, because most beings are involved in the ignoble, they're not involved in virtuous activities very much. So they don't engage in the 10 virtues and accumulate virtue, which is the cause of the higher realm rebirth. Non-virtue being the cause of the lower realm rebirth. Therefore, because of the lack of accumulation of virtue, most beings don't have a higher realm rebirth in the future lives very easily.
This one.
That's it.
Oh yeah. What this one is about? What they are?
It's humans for the most part.
What that then ma? Jibu chungun la to what then is that what? Lusun you chu jin. Niedun jibi chawa temba dang. Shi jisu lutan temba jin. Kana lendi shi dang la. Ngaba temba nyen bitu. Chashin chawa na je mongba dang. Gisu tada druba sheba la. Tato badan temba shi jilu. Chi je ma to duwa. Chi je to what the jibu chungun la temba sare.
And now we. Now we get into the actual stanzas that deal specifically with the pathways for beings of small capacity, and then we find 8 lines that present the small scope. My body and the life in it are fleeting as the bubbles in the sea froth of a wave. Bless me first thus to recall the death that will destroy me soon, and help me find sure knowledge that after I have died, the things I've done, the white or black, and what those deeds will bring to me follow always close behind, as certain as my shadow. Grant me then ever to be careful, to stop the slightest wrong of the many wrongs we do, and try to carry out instead each and every good of the many that we may. So these are the pathways to the higher realms of cyclic existence, the pathways for beings of small capacity.
다 제비 중을 나서나 다가데 안에 먹이 주고 추진 것도 주도서 안에 소마돈 디발샤던지야 안에 근주선을 쪄선 좋아 또 근주선을 쪄선 좋고네 먹이 주고 추진 것도 주도서 봐이나 안에 어때 된주나레스 말바 안에 샤 먹이 주고 추진 소마돈 디발 샤던 제거레스 어때 제비 중을 나도 어떤 면도아 건조선을 쪄선 주고는 건조선을 쪄서 만드나 안에 나비 추래고 매지로 건조선을 쪄선 주고네 먹이 주고 추진 송바이나 먹이 주고 추진 마소나 Tiba Magojo, Talujugan Suchiba Mashiba Lamba, and then Louis Jeje, not going to join Tamatsu Mashisha, Ejigun Nasan and Chutige, no, the Debating Nasun to Waters. Nasun to Wedan, and what the Nandu Land is, Nandu Land. Take you the Nandu General do, and the Tujet won't be shooting the Sombaina, and then will generate what they the Katutata Imaro.
So, what are the pathways for beings of small capacity? These pathways are going for refuge to the three jewels, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, engaging in ethics which abandons the 10 non-virtuous activities, and then if one engages in some sort of negativity, acknowledging that downfall. So by engaging in these practices, one is able to have a rebirth in the higher realms of cyclic existence. So first, this going for refuge, why is that necessary? It doesn't, one doesn't enter into Buddhism or isn't a Buddhist until this step of going for refuge is taken. So that is the significance and importance of this, because to practice the Buddhist pathways, one is I don't know how to. It's not should be or needs to be. In order to practice Buddhist pathways, it's necessary to be a Buddhist. And in order to be a Buddhist, it's necessary to go for refuge to the three jewels. And then the next point, the ethics which abandons the 10 non-virtues. The 10 non-virtuous activities are 3 non-virtues of the body, killing, stealing, and sexual misconduct, 4 non-virtues of the speech, lying, harsh words, divisive speech, and gossip, and 3 non-virtues of the mind, covetousness, harmful intent, and wrong view. So these are the 10 non-virtuous activities, and these are considered bad pathways, negative pathways, those pathways which lead to the lower realms of cyclic existence. Abandonment of those non-virtuous activities are the ethics that abandon those 10 non-virtues, and these are considered positive pathways, good pathways that lead to the higher realms of cyclic existence. And then if one does waver then or engage in a negativity, then it's necessary to acknowledge that downfall, acknowledge that negativity has taken place. And by doing these practices, one is engaging in a pathway that leads to the higher realms of cyclic existence, and these pathways are called pathways for beings of small capacity. Diksun.
Le su yo le dan an su su de chu chu na je tem yo mares l'ensemble me ba cha chu chu res wo de an me jo len sa ba yin da ya an ko tem yo mar chu chu na mares an nyo dun ji bi chwa da nyo do shea ge wo de ne ga yo wa wo de nyo do shea ge chwa de ten bu res shi je so shi sa du wo de 네 고아주다 먹어 죽은 데부터 네 류다 드마지도 용거레스 고아주도 야바사샤요나 데부터 데와다 던도 용거레 데바주사 요바이나 데인데부터 동에다 내송 용거레스 시제수 류다 드마지 가나렌데 시전당와스 가부기 레근데부터 데와다 던도 용거 하다 멀리제그레 네 데바사요나 what the Rebel Donata Nason Chenrezig, what the Dandy Zamarba, Canal Resident Donla, never Dembuniene, what the Zabinet took Galoyabishibajene, never Dembuniabachibures, Yabi to touching tower not a bomba dance, Yabi to what the touching tower, what the Magicu with the touching tower boom, Goaju with the touching tower Dubaina. I know what they do down Tabadan, Sanji go to Noja.
Never doje.
Never does it on Wajadan, what to see you.
That's okay. Diksun.
That debate Sasa know what the debate what the national cigarettes, And Tibet, Nasoja, Nubatisha, Nebutoji, Sanjik Zungaris Marbe, Sanjik Zungaris, Sanjin de Wage, Ladu Marbe, what there was Nebutoji Zune, and what the Nebutoji Sangasana Jeva, you know, the Madab Diba Marbe, coming out to the tattoo is what is on the Marbe.
So what is the meaning of this? My body and the life in it are fleeting as the bubbles in the sea froth of a wave. So here, this is stating that the human basis is very unstable. Why is it unstable? Because it can perish very easily. It can be destroyed very easily. It's as unstable as a bubble is. So it says, as the bubbles in the sea froth of a wave. And that's because we have so many conditions that cause death, or so many causes for death, or conditions for, really, literally, conditions for death. So it's, bless me first thus to recall the death that will destroy me soon. And then after, and help me find sure knowledge that after I've died, the things I've done, the white or the black, and what those deeds will bring to me follow always close behind, as certain as my shadow. So those white deeds are referring to virtuous deeds. If one accumulates virtuous actions or deeds, then this will lead him or her to the higher realms of cyclic existence. If one accumulates non-virtue, non-virtuous deeds or non-virtuous actions, then these non-virtues will lead to the lower realms of cyclic existence. So this is what those deeds will bring to me. These results are what. Those results are what those deeds will bring to us if we engage in those kinds of actions. If we engage in non-virtue, we have non-virtue, lower realm rebirth, and engage in virtue, higher realm rebirth. And then grant me ever to be careful to stop the slightest wrong of the many wrongs we do, and try to carry out instead each and every good of the many that we may. So here we have a point of that we need to be very careful, because if we engage in non-virtue, then that will lead to the lower realms. If we engage in virtue, this will lead to the higher realms. If we engage in non-virtue, then how do we abandon that non-virtue? How do we stop that non-virtue? We abandon it by way of some sort of a practice. And in this case, we have the practice of the four opponent powers. And by engaging in these four opponent powers, we're able to purify misdeeds that we've accumulated. And we find in Shantideva's compendium of trainings this point made, and that there are no non-virtuous activity. There is no misdeed that cannot be purified. Even the 5 irreversible actions, or the 5 heinous crimes, can be purified by the 4 opponent powers. We also, when we're looking at the acknowledgement of downfalls, we would then look to a practice in which we have that acknowledgement of downfalls, and then we find that in the practice of the 4 opponent powers.
What the debate about Yabuto Sango Nishada and Tatu Res, Nongomulu Shitile, Debata Pom was over Angulo Malalasua. Angulo Mala, what the Shinel was the trainer, Mongoja to Gujuko Seba Marbe, Goja to Kogose and the Shuguma Amasera Jedule, and the Saji the Pene, and the Saji Koniabutoja to Songa in Jebota. So Jebota to Sone, and Angulo Mala Debatane. Settle judgment to some the Genji the New Amaro, what the example to the Jamarbe, Angulumala, shitting, Tibatan Tayoris, Gobulu shitting goes with the Angulumala Suba, Dibata Pomuzumurva.
Bless him. And by applying the 4 opponent powers, no matter what has been done, no matter what the non-virtue is, it can be purified. And no matter how much has been done, it can be purified. And we find an example in Nagarjuna's letter to a friend, where we find many examples in Nagarjuna's letter to a friend, but one specific example is the example of Angumala, who met with a bad spiritual teacher and was advised to kill 1,000 people. He killed 999 and was about to get to the last person and met with Buddha. And Lord Buddha then taught the four opponent powers to Angulimala, and he did not have to experience the normal results of that killing. He was able to achieve the state of foe destroyer in that lifetime because of the power of that practice. So we can purify our non-virtue in many ways by, for instance, engaging in the recitation of names or the name mantras of various beings. These have the power to purify our misdeeds as well. So, and for instance, the mantra of Shakyamuni Buddha, Teata Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Ye Soha, is stated that just by reciting that once, one is able to purify non-virtue that was accumulated for 10,000 kalpa the 10,000 eons of non-virtue. So we see the power of just that one recitation of Shakyamuni Buddha's mantra. Dharmabadra. A silver water. Okay. We find these points made in the commentary by MyChu Dhammapada. MyChu Dhammapada?
MyChu Dhammapada.
Okay. And literally, MyChu means silver water. And then Dhammapada, the Dundagare.
Dhammapada taku mejero, MyChu Dhamma, MyChu. MyChu so called Lomba de Lomba. Lomba mejero, MyChu Dhammapada.
So Dharmapada is his actual name. The MyChu Dharmapada is because MyChu is a place name where he's from, and it means silver water, MyChu. So anyway, MyChu Dharmapada wrote 8 volumes of works, 8 volumes, very similar to Gyaltsabje. And in that we find commentary on the 35 Buddhas of confession. By reciting these 35 Buddhas, one is able to get rid of an enormous amount of non-virtue. And in this particular text, we find the actual eons of non-virtue that are purified. We find with Shakyamuni's 10,000 eons, and then others 4,000, and so forth. So we find in this commentary those numbers.
Dhammapada sumo potu jete lo te ne pebake potu tambatel color ka nibal ka sombal ka nga jeba ko pon jinsa
Ga kang
pebake ka nga za kami sonju yoro ka tambro potu tambatel color nibal ka sombal ka somba potu somba no le tanda tonsha ndebandu.
Okay.
Third
volume.
What the Berlin Nolula
Lesser. So when we look at his works, we find that there are 8 volumes of work. And so when we would say like volumes, I think Rinpoche is just showing like an order What's the connection with the alphabet, the ga, ka, ga, nga?
Oh, that's Rinpoche means, that's Gakakanga means we just, there will be section, and the section 1, 2,
Section,
3.
oh, so, okay, so
There will
it's
be
what I
section
thought.
Yes.
Okay, so it's what I thought. So Rinpoche is comparing it to these volumes of work are in an order, as the alphabet is in an order of sections. So we would say ga would be the first section, and that would be the first volume. Ka is the second volume, ka, ka, ga, and then nga. So this falls into the third volume, like the third letter in the alphabet. So this commentary on the 35 Buddhas is in that volume number 3. And I forgot to translate one thing. Rinpoche said he was able to look at this text on the computer, and when he was looking at it, he saw these commentaries.
What is Sanji Kansu Tabi Shikong me, Tabi Shikong me, Kukazi me, to Suka Sibun to Sibu. To Sukalo de and Pachakala then the love is na, and Jawakil Jatuki, Naganunagi, book Sayaji, Deji, Trane. And then Jawak is not just to the person to Sonja. Sandalam, Tuatra, Nolula, but the Tonshagi, Slason to Song, Susu Tabi Shinkan, Shaja to be Tabi Shinkan, when there was Honji Susu, Tabi Shinkan, Samalon, Tenon Dos,
Tabi Shinkan, Sena.
Pure land. Shajaman the Pure land. And Tripai Buddha Susu Pure Land,
lesser.
What to Sondos?
Oh, the Bejan.
Naga Jonaga Jun said, then you know, Passage Jas, Jokazon Sondos,
Lesser.
and the Donsha and Jagina, Debat and the Tag, the Pench of the Susons, Jessa Taji can be someone on those. Jessa Jedan, what the Susan on those is that. Keba Trichitan, Nietzschetan, what the Divata said, and then what the Jessa Taji was someone those.
Then the Nagarjuna Kyasanjatso, the Nagarjuna the Yure Kyasanjatso.
Jalkazan just go to Sanji Sonju Sanga, Pure Lens, Sonrota.
Lesso.
Konto, the Tenju Nole, Daganjuna book is
Lesso. Okay, two Chenrezig, Gonga Rinpoche. So in also the 7th Dalai Lama, the Lord Kelsang Gyatso has rights of the pure lands of each of these individual Buddhas, of the 35 Buddhas. And when asked where does this information come from, he refers to Master Nagarjuna and Nagarjuna's works that we find in the Tanjir, the authentic Indian commentaries. And then where do we also find more specificity about these this confession of downfalls? We find it in the works of Gyaltsab, Gyaltsab Tamche Chenpa. So Gyaltsab, the Lord Gyaltsab, the omniscient one. So we find it in his works as well. So we find Kelsang Gyatso's explanation of each of these Buddha's pure lands, and him stating the source is Nagarjuna, and then Gyaltsab having a very clear points about this confession or acknowledgement of downfalls. So in our book we have the 35 Buddhas. And it's very good that we have this in our center's prayer book. And just as a note, Gyaltsab is Kirtub and Gyaltsab were Lama Tsongkhapa's root disciples. So when we hear these names, that's who they are, just as a note. So having this in our prayer book is a very great benefit. And in Tibetan, the commentaries are so beautiful. So if we wish to purify our non-virtues, then we can recite the name mantra of Buddha, or we can recite the 35 Buddhas of confession and apply that as an opponent or an antidote.
Nada somebody Jamba Tanda Shi Pai Shambai, Tembi Zawa Susu Tabala, Duba Nyabisha Shinjulu, take it what they La de to the Go Samarbe Ah, Suti Laba, Labason to the Tendu was said. Chibi Mo Dunga Kunjugo, Edem Rossi from Yamid and Tage and Nandu Samba to Nandu Samba Tenti Samarbe. Ta Pabunka on the letter. Saji jita sibra mudua anu ngasu larin chembo de do larin chembo yona larin chembo wat neja dung tama tin so wat do saji tene do larin saji yona wat saji no lo do
Mire
samba jong samba de chibiche tela lo do sewa So now
we'll read further and we'll get into the pathways for beings of medium capacity. Bless me to perceive all that's wrong with the seemingly good things of this life. I can never get enough of them. They cannot be trusted. They are the door to every pain I have. Grant me then to strive instead for the happiness of freedom. Grant that these pure thoughts may lead me to be watchful and to recall what I should be doing. Grant me to give the greatest care to make the vows of morality the essence of my practice. They are the root of Buddha's teaching. In the medium scope, the pathways for beings of medium capacity, we find not a very clear explanation in terms of an outline in Pabunka Rinpoche's commentary. So therefore, we will look at the great treatise on the stage of the path to enlightenment by Lama Tsongkhapa to aid us in this understanding. And we find three categories presented by Lama Tsongkhapa about this. When we look at this paragraph here, it says, "Bless me to perceive all that's wrong with the seemingly good things of this life. I can never get enough of them. They cannot be trusted. They are the door to every pain I have. Grant me then to strive instead for the happiness of freedom." So this is referring to renunciation. In the Lamrim Chenmo, it's the determination to be free, the desire to definitely emerge from cyclic existence. We find the mental training first presented in the great treatise, the mental training about renunciation. It's under the major heading of the faults of cyclic existence. It says the faults of cyclic existence are explained in these three ways. So we have first the mental training, and then a second category, which is the measure of the determination to be free, the measure of that renunciation, and then a third category of dispelling misconceptions. So Lama Tsongkhapa presents these three categories that apply to this particular stanza.
That's it.
The Shloka Kanga. Okay, so they're doing your Dharmabadra Kona. So when we say, bless me to perceive all that's wrong with the seemingly good things of this life. I can never get enough of them. They cannot be trusted. They are the door to every pain I have. Grant me then to strive instead for the happiness of freedom. In the Lamrim Chenmo, we find the mental training, the measure of the determination to be free, and dispelling misconceptions. So in terms of the Four Noble Truths, this particular stanza would be presenting the superior truth of suffering and the superior truth of origin. The Deni Chenpo, Jinji Lo. Okay, so then so they are the door to every pain I have. Grant me then to strive instead for the happiness of freedom refers to the superior truth of cessation and the superior truth of path. So let me just go back just now that I've clarified. The superior truth of suffering and superior truth of origin are presented. Bless me to perceive all that's wrong with the seemingly good things of this life. I can never get enough of them. They cannot be trusted. They are the door to every pain I have. So this is the truth of suffering and origin. And then grant me to strive instead for the happiness of freedom. This is the truth of cessation and truth of path. So we have striving, a path, and happiness of freedom, the cessation. So that's how we find within this section the Four Noble Truths introduced as well. We'll take a short break and be right back. Dunya Chenpo Jepa Jinji Lo.
Samba John Samba de GBC, Telalu Sova, Tabadriba Lager and Della Pobas, Samba John with the Naju Samba.
That's so.
That Naju Samba Telangazu Tenson to the Shebaina, Naju Samba Jigu Jusen, Naju Samba Jibi Tap, Naju Samba Jibi Tap, and Jibita, and then Naju Samba Chichus. What then the soon had you soon to
Chichu, the
Chichus that. Tambula soon, Nanu Samba Chigu Jutan, Nanu Samba Chibi Top, Nanu Samba Chib
say. Okay.
Now that Nanu Kaza, Nisan could top of Daniel Zadra.
Then Jutsun top say.
That Nanu Samba Gubi Jutan.
Okay.
Nanu Samba Gubi Jutan, what the Nanu Samba Gogas Rota. Gubi Jutan Karas. Jutan Kar Trebaina. Nanu Samba Gubi Jutan the rest is that. Nanu Samba Gubi Jutan the Lanzo Lanzo. Nanu Samba Gubi Jutan is
Gotta get an iPad. Yeah, that'd be great.
Nanu Samba Gubi Jutan Chibita Songchi. Tamu Nanu Samba Gubi Jutan, Nada Nanu Meba Situi, Dende Denishi Tamela, and then Dende Denishi Tamela. And Sila Gamba Legion of Quindi Chishi, Toman says, Lanzu, what again, Naju Samba Chigu, Jusen Temperis, Jusen Lanzu,
Lamsam.
Oh, this is it. Now that Naju member Situis, Naju Samba the Mena, and Kui Jatule. Jotu Maris, Nada Naju member Sisui, Dende Tenishi Tomado, and Sisui made the light the wa, don't know what the Telkatu Maris, Dende Tenishi Tomelas,
okay.
Dende Tenishi Tomela, Silla Gamba Ejan Legena, Queen Chinshir, Toman Silla Gamba Ejans, Siba call Chaba Jebaina. Take a Jewish Balatene, and what they call good grace, call a Junior Queen, Tatu Maris. Sila Kamba Yaja Lujana, Queen Chinchis, Tan Dusha Jeba Yuzo, quality to Mare, Dusha quality, Dead Wood, what the name what the quad and Bombishet what the Naruto Wures, Sila Kamba Yaja Lujana, Queen Chinchis, Tomang and Rutus, Tomang and Ruta, and Deneja Wood.
So when we look at I've already forgot the commentary by MyChu Dharmabadra, that's MyChu Dharmabadra, we see that there are three categories. I'll have to find where he is too, but thank you very much. Next time I'll look at it later. There are three categories in MyChu Dharmabadra's commentary that deal with this particular stanza. And the first category is the reason you need renunciation. The second category is the method for achieving renunciation. And the third category is the measure of renunciation. So MyChu Dharmabadra, for the first point, the reason, quotes the Three Principal Paths by Lama Tsongkhapa. We're stating that this is how we have the realization of renunciation and so forth. But what is the reason that we need to develop renunciation? Why? It states in the Three Principal Paths, listen with clear minds, you lucky people who aspire to the path that pleases the Buddhas, who work to give meaning to life, to leisure and opportunity, who are not addicted to the pleasures of cyclic life. Lust for existence chains all corporal beings. Addiction to the pleasures of the life cycle is only cured by transcendent renunciation. So seek transcendence first of all. What is the reason we need this renunciation? So in order to be free from cyclic existence, it's necessary to get rid of attachment. So if one is attached to cyclic existence, then one will necessarily have it in one's next life. One will continue the cycle. It says the cycle of life. Lust for existence chains all corporal beings. So having attachment for cyclic existence causes one to re-experience cyclic existence. Addiction to the pleasures of life cycle is only cured by transcendent renunciation. So renunciation, the desire to definitely emerge, is the only opponent that will get rid of this attachment to the pleasures of cyclic existence. So it states, so seek transcendence first of all. So Lama Tsongkhapa states, seek this renunciation, this desire to definitely emerge right away. And so this is the reason that's presented for us to need renunciation. Addiction to the pleasures of cyclic life is only cured by transcendent renunciation. Lust for existence chains all corporeal beings. So one is bound to this ocean of cyclic existence by our attachment. Renunciation cures that. Renunciation serves as an opponent to that. And this is why we need it. Diksum. That's the reason for it. Less so.
Nila dene, junila dene, and then I know somebody who is. Sunday Naji do what the Karasana, then Juniaka, Silla Lume, Yila Compensini Naji do, Senior do, then Juniaka, then you turn you what a nearby Gavana, then Juniaka, Silla Lumeba, and the Madame Natula Suba, the son Tabaina, Sindel Chaba doing what is, Sindel Chabe, Cindy Naji does. Then Junior got Silla Lume, nila kombe tsende nashi dos. Tsende nashi do tatare loa.
The long the gyunten. The
Tsende nashi doba.
lesser.
Tsende nashi doba la tene nganyo samba yungure. Shimi nashi doba la tene nganyo samba yungure. Tsende nashi doba de kare resena. Danju nyaka tsila lome. Yela kombe langzu ro langzu. Danju nyaka tsila lome.
Okay, kanga glomsam.
Danju nyaka tsila lome be yela kombe tsende nashi tsinye madomo doa. Danju tuanche wata. Nyeba gawa ta. Anu wate tsila lome ba tende sandu mo tamba ina. Anu nganyo samba che yungures. Te yushi bala tene. Danju tuanche wata. Nyeba gawa ta. Jil hawal sandu tamba ina. Tsendil chaba de ka ne.
Lesso.
Anu nganyo samba yungures.
Lesso.
Danju nyaka tsila lome be yela kombe tsende nashi dos. Tsendil chaba chaba do nugures. Anu ko nganyo samba yushi na gojirwa.
Lesso.
Tā lēndē mōlo kū dōngi nā, yāyā sāng nā shimī nā shī dōs. Lēndē, kāpa gawā chū kī dēbat lā, dāwā tāng dāndu yōngu rē. Mā gawā chū kī dēbat lā, dōngi tāng ngāndu yōngu tā sāng mā bā tāng bā yī nā, shimī, chāwā shimā kū dāwā lā chāpa chāpa dōngu rēs. Wā tēnyi lā tēnē, ngāndu sāng bā dōngu rēs.
So the first category is the reason. Why do we need this renunciation? The second category is the method. And in the method, there are two categories in the category of method. We could also say the cause of renunciation. So the first category is renunciation of the things of this life, or the turning off the interest of the things of this life. And then the second category is renouncing one's interest in the things of future lives. So these are the two categories, and we find this presented also in the Three Principal Paths by Lama Tsongkhapa. It says, leisure and opportunity are hard to get, and there is no time to life. Keep thinking on this and you will turn off your interest in this life. So here it's stating that it's very difficult to get this basis, and there isn't a lot of time. And one recognizes that the happiness of cyclic existence is suffering. So when one recognizes the short time span that one has, and one thinks about this again and again, one will turn off one's interest in the things of this life. And so renounce the things of this life. Then the next the next sentence then deals with getting rid of the desire for the things of future life. And it says, contemplate the inexorability of evolutionary effects and the sufferings of life over and over again, and you will turn your interest off future lives. So when one begins to look at the sufferings of the higher realms and the lower realms of cyclic existence, and recognizes this lack of happiness even though there are the lack of happiness in cyclic existence, because the happiness is actual happiness of cyclic existence that is suffering. So therefore, by thinking about the sufferings of all of the realms of cyclic existence, then you will turn off your interest for future lives. You will have a renunciation related to future lives. So the first category is, so what is the method for turning one's interest off this life? It's thinking about the lack of time that one has over and over again, and then the difficulty of achieving what we have now. And then we turn off our interest in future lives by thinking about the 6 realms of cyclic existence and so forth, and the sufferings and lack of happiness, and then we turn our interest off in future lives. So these are the two categories. I'm sorry, I don't have the Tibetan root of the Three Principal Paths, and I just have this older translation, so I'm trying to work with it. I have the Tibetan somewhere.
MyChu Dharmabadra what the Lantuk Tibetan what the Ngayung Katu the Jusen 사제송 제는 니제우시단도스.
The Andrew no?
내주가도 사제송 내주 주sen.
Jusen top say.
안에 what
Say.
안에 내주집세. 사제송 제는 니제우도.
So the MyChu Dharmabadra's commentary is very beautiful with this presentation of three categories of the reason, the method, and then the measurement. So it's a very beautiful word commentary.
나누 사바집이 타들 니로 선디 하시 두바나 셰민 하시 두비 타 니라 데네 나누 사바집에서 선디 하시 두바데 대주니가 설라 노메베 일라 컴퓨터 선은 뭐 타나 선들 잡아두는 그래서 선디 하시도 렌데 몰로쿠 등에나 예양선의 셰민 하시도 저와 셔마 하다메 데를 잡아
Less so. So in order to realize renunciation, the determination to be free, it's necessary for us to A, turn off our interest in this life, and then B, turn off our interest in future lives. So the way that we remove our interest in the things of this life is by recognizing the difficult leisure and opportunity are hard to get, and there is no time to life. Keep thinking on this and you will turn off your interest in this life. So this is the first part. So this is how one gets rid of this interest in the things of this life. And then the next category is how one gets rid of his or her interest in the things of future lives. And it says, contemplate the inexorability of evolutionary effects. What that means is it's speaking about karma and its results. So it's just stating, think about karma and its results. And then when one can contemplate even the higher realms of cyclic existence have sufferings, and then by thinking about karma and its results, and the sufferings of life over and over again that one will experience in cyclic existence, this will then turn one's interest off the things of future lives. And then once one experiences this disinterest in the things of this life and disinterest in the things of future lives, then one can experience renunciation.
나누 삼바집이 체 쇼스나 체드 가바된 거르스나 다다 공비 쿠편소라 예명의 깨지잖아 지신 예생구도 타버되냐로 쇼나트 승내로 집어라 어떻게 나누 삼바집이 체된 거로
So then the last category is the measurement of this renunciation. And we find it here in this same text. So the MyChu Dharmabadra explains these three categories with the three principal paths. So the measurement of renunciation, by constant meditation, your mind will not entertain a moment's wish even for the successes of life, and you will aim for freedom all day and night. Then you experience transcendent renunciation. So this is the measurement of renunciation. So we have the reason for renunciation, why one needs it. Then we have the method for it, how to turn away the things of this life and next life, and then the measurement of it. The measurement is that one is aiming all day and night for freedom. Freedom here is liberation in this case. So this is the third category and its point. So we have these three categories of the reason why you need renunciation, the method to achieve renunciation, and the measurement of renunciation. And I saw this in the text, and it was very beautiful. Beautifully, yeah, very beautiful. Okay. Okay.
사진이 이제 베이지부터 돼.
That's so. So then when we look at this text at the section on the mind that aspires to enlightenment, or bodhicitta, we find that there are two categories under the bodhicitta section. We first have the reason for bodhicitta, and then the method for achieving bodhicitta. And it's very beautiful in this text.
다 상주 생지고 주생 가르스나 내중대야 나다 생지지 세바면나 라면 상주지 편수 뒤줄 먼저 편수 뒤줄 먼저 어떻게 주생 대용어레스다 내중대야 나다 생지지 세바면나 라면 상주지 편수 뒤줄 먼저 로데 나지 상주 생주지스 어떻게 상주 생고 주생 대용도스다.
So, what is the reason why we need the mind that aspires to enlightenment? It says transcendence, so that's speaking of renunciation, without the spirit of enlightenment cannot generate the supreme bliss of unexcelled enlightenment. Therefore, the bodhisattva conceives the supreme spirit of enlightenment. So this is the reason for the mind that aspires to enlightenment, because what it says here, that Buddhahood is not possible. Unexcelled is the highest enlightenment. That's Buddhahood is not possible without bodhicitta.
당간주 상바다 안노와데 티메글라다 주주 동원시 가지 요바 이나야 샤슈 세마진의 상주고 본투 준도고 말레스 상주고 본투 준도고 말레스
The Nejong, the Lama.
내주 상바다 티메글라다 무시다 가리 요바 이나 샤슈 세마진나 상주고 본투 준도고 말레스
Okay.
대인 소소 언데 샤슈 세는 가봐도 고그레스 상주고 본투 번데바 요나 샤슈 생각하고 공부를 그때 내가 놀라서 샤슈 생각해봐 맨나 라면 샤슈 줄면 좋아 힘배지 다 그래도 말 주세요.
So what is the meaning of this reason? The meaning of this reason is that no matter what, if one has realized renunciation or desire to emerge, determination to be free, or any of the realizations of the lesser vehicle, of the hearer vehicle or solitary realizer vehicle, without the mind that aspires to enlightenment, it's not possible to achieve complete Buddhahood. So you could have clairvoyance and all of these other renunciation and qualities of the lesser vehicle, but you can't become a Buddha with just those things. It's necessary to have bodhicitta. So if one wishes to become a Buddha or desires Buddhahood, then it's necessary to engage in the practice that generate the bodhicitta, or the mind that aspires to enlightenment. So this is the reason for it. The reason for it. Digsun.
我在上主先基本特多的是，在上主先基本特的了，的是他。说的主义军事家，说的主义军事家，都个来自前往当兵当，但是价值这一步是去，马里没被马新贵的提，没什么执行计划罗，都按送去军事没办法，那个那的就被马那些按水上的三九结本就是，我这个上九三公去那个路是的。说的出息
okay.
出息的这个那这些的嘛的，这顿个这顿个那一顿个这顿个就出息了不叫 example。那我说跟我老的说的出息个区家说那了可能是，说的出息军下军事车，那说的出息军事车那的就嘛对吧？ 동네 손 주시 매봤나 내가 너도 좀 동네 손다 동네 지 동네 네 쳐봐 주시 동네 손 주시 매봤나도 그랬어 대답이 나게 되게 강사 투주를 매내는 세지 공부를 어떻게 상주 세지부터 된 것도 있다 동네 손 주시 매봤나 내가 너도 좀 만나지 나 주선에 세수 제번 주사
So the second category is the method for the mind that aspires to enlightenment. And then we find this presented here. Carried away on the currents of the four mighty streams, tightly bound by the near inescapable chains of evolution, trapped and imprisoned in the iron cage of self-concern, totally wrapped in the darkness of misknowledge, born again and again in endless life cycles, uninterruptedly tormented by the three miseries, such is the state of all beings, all just your mothers. From your natural feelings, conceive the highest spirit. Okay, so carried away on the currents of the four mighty streams. So this is referring to the suffering of birth, the suffering of aging, the suffering of sickness, the suffering of death. So these are the four sufferings of this ocean of cyclic existence. So these streams are used to speak of the ocean of cyclic existence and these four types of suffering. And then it says, near inescapable chains, evolution, trapped and imprisoned in the iron cage, self-concern or the self-cherishing attitude, totally wrapped in the darkness of misknowledge, born again and again in endless life cycles, uninterruptedly tormented by the three miseries, so the suffering of change, the suffering of suffering, pervasive compounded suffering, such is the state of all beings, just your mothers, from your natural feelings. So you think about the various miseries and sufferings that all sentient beings, like yourself, have to endure, and then it says from your natural feelings. So once you think of this, then and you recognize that all these beings are your mothers, then conceive the highest spirit, realize bodhicitta, the mind that aspires to enlightenment, from what naturally comes from the thinking of the suffering of sentient beings. Use that to then realize the mind that aspires to enlightenment. So that's the section under method. So the next section is on view. And we look at the three principal paths. We find three main topics. We have renunciation, we have bodhicitta, and then we have the correct view. And the correct view section is quite long. So we won't get into that today. But we went over the renunciation and bodhicitta section. But where it started was we were looking at Lama Tsongkhapa's section on the faults of cyclic existence and the three categories that are presented there: the reason, the method, and the measurement. So we find the reason, the method, and the measurement that's presented, and that was according to Chenrezig Dharmabadra's commentary. So this commentary is so beautiful with the three categories. So if I just misspoke that, I think I might have. I do that sometimes. So the Silver Water Dharmabadra, Chenrezig Dharmabadra's commentary explains this section with 3 points: the reason, the method, and then the measurement. I just didn't want to confuse it with the outline in the Lamrim Chenmo I did, which is the faults of cyclic existence, which is different than what Rinpoche just said. So. So we're able to, by way of these three categories, understand this section on renunciation very well. The reason for why we need renunciation, the method for achieving it, and then the measurement of that renunciation. So these are the three categories that are very helpful in this text. So the wusa. Open a new door. So I've opened a new door at the center today.
What the Jema Ngoju Dharmabadra Razon have those.
So in the future we'll go over it because now we have this commentary by MyChu Dharmabadra. Is of great importance. Many of these commentaries are beautiful commentaries. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to end there today, and we'll get further in next time. So we'll do the concluding prayers. I'm losing my mind right now. I gotta look something up. So what I confused it with before was the faults of cyclic existence, and then it's the mind, the mental training, the measure, and dispelling misconceptions. That's the outline of the Lamrim Chenmo under the faults that I mixed up with the three categories that are in MyChu Dharmabadra's commentary. So I clarified it, but I just wanted to explain the origin of the mistake.
So
this computer is just like having a library. It's very good.
Yeah.
The scientists are such scholars.
Yeah.
Thank you. So we have concluding mandala offering and dedication prayer. The fundamental ground is scented with incense and strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, the four continents, the sun and the moon. I imagine this as a Buddha land and offer it. May all sentient beings enjoy this pure realm. I dedicate whatever virtues I've collected for the benefit of the teachings and of all sentient beings, and in particular for the essential teachings of Venerable Lobsang Dharmabadra to shine forever. I send forth this mandala to you, precious Guru. I dedicate all this virtue to emulate the knowledge of the hero Manjushri and likewise Samantabhadra as well. With whatever dedication is praised as supreme by all the conquerors who traverse the three times, I also dedicate all my roots of virtue for the sake of auspicious deeds. In that pure land surrounded by snowy mountains, you are the source of all benefit and happiness. All-powerful Avalokiteshvara Tenzin Yatso, may you stay until samsara's end. I pray for the long life of the precious Khensur Rinpoche, upholder of scriptural and realizational doctrines, the spiritual friend who trained extensively in the 5 great philosophical texts with exceptional wisdom and perseverance. Suji Rimchi Guzi Shapi